Hello everybody, and I welcome all of you back to what is my second day now here in London, and we begin our adventure of sightseeing and we start just outside New Scotland Yard, right in Westminster, where right after what's going to probably be a very short trip to the toilet, I'll showcase all of you guys, well, the River Thames right directly in front of me, Should be fun. So I won't lie, ladies and gentlemen, that, listen, I like to keep myself in the loop when it comes to politics and the news and whatnot. And I can't actually put into words what it's like to be here right now, because to the right of me is Parliament Street, to the north, Great Bridge Street, to the south, Bridge Street itself, and to the left of me, well, right behind me I should say, Parliament itself, the very epicenter, the very heartbeat of British democracy. And we're only a stone's throw away from Downing Street itself, where the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, resides. More rents, more when you think about it, because, well, and even to the very north of me, well, I'll showcase to you guys for yourselves. Right as soon as the city buses and things go to Wandsworth and whatnot, and Oxford Circus, all the flags of the Commonwealth, and I'm getting across the street. I want to get a glimpse of Churchill, and is that supposed to be what's his face behind? And of course, you may have noticed as well, just how many thousands of tourists do you reckon come round to Westminster every single day? Because they are literally here by the hundreds. Even on an innocuous Friday morning, it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning, but it is absolutely bustling. And yeah, it's one of those, small fish in big pond moments, because it's absolutely breathtaking, this moment. But enough about me talking. I'm gonna showcase you guys what needs to be seen. Churchill's starting off looking a little bit perky right up there, isn't he? Anyway, let's keep going. You know what, again, since we're here, we are going to explore every moment of this. I am like just in awe, and I'm going to try and keep out of my way of the Chinese tourists. I just sort of want to give them some breathing space. Oh, I actually almost forgot that Lloyd George, I suppose it makes sense. He was the Prime Minister when we were at war, I suppose. Did Clement Attlee ever get a statue? Good question. Anyway, let's keep rolling. It's just, and also I can't, well, there is another little Ian Christian Smuts. And actually, whilst because we are going to sort of explore every other statue, I'll just also say this for reference. Westminster I don't think I've ever been to any. I'm going to keep going. let's keep going. We'll get Palmerston as well. Nice. And you also get, I didn't even realise Canning even got a spot here as well, so we'll just get a little zoom up here, just past the stoplight. can't exactly remember off the top of my head what Canning did to. Hello. Can't remember off the top of my head what Canning did particularly to get a statue, but you know, I'm sure I'll remember it somehow. Derby. I do also like the lithograph of Parliament in the middle. Look at that, guys. The detailing gone on that. I hope whoever did this got paid a mint, because that is gorgeous. That is. And by the way, guys, the statues continue. It is literally all over the square. And again, the flags. To be honest, Parliament looks even more stunning from this. It's like it's almost like the further you get away from it, the more you can just take everything in. But again, we will keep this rolling, and Millicent Garand Forquet. Yeah, she was one of the key figures of the suffragettes, wasn't she? Beaconsfield. And we keep going, and just again, the second I turn my back for 1 second, I know it's still there, but you know what else could you do? Then we get Mahatma Gandhi as well. I'm actually really glad, yeah, because I know there's one of Nelson Mandela erected somewhere in Parliament Square, but I'll have to keep looking. But of course, sadly, this whole section seems to be taped off for some reason. I'm not too sure why, but who do we also get? Oh, Robert Peel. What did... can't remember what Robert Peel ever did have his... But that is stunning. That is just staggering. And finally, almost at the very end of Parliament Square, you do get Nelson Mandela himself. See him right there? You know, there are some people who are actually quite, you know, annoyed and upset that Nelson Mandela actually managed to get a spot here in Parliament Square alongside some of our great leaders in our time. But they're morons who absolutely don't understand. You try getting locked up for 21 years and see how you feel. Ridiculous, some people. Massive. But of course, no trip to Westminster could possibly be complete without taking a look at Westminster Abbey. Again, I have to sort of make an explanation for this one. It's because pictures do not do this justice. Because that just might be probably the most beautiful building in the world. Yeah, I don't know if it's actually finally been able to see it up close has suddenly turned me patriotic for some reason, but look at that. It's the most gorgeous sight in the world, and considering it would take almost all day to like get inside, but mind you, there are great reasons to look at it from the outside as well. Just get a look at that. So originally I was actually going to like have a picture taken outside the telephone box on Great George Street, because there's at least 5 telephone boxes just on George Street alone, but I have to say the queues just for people to get their photos taken outside the telephone boxes is absolutely extraordinary. Don't know what's wrong with this one. I mean, it's a telephone box just as much as any other. I mean, there's nothing in it, but you know. So am I part of the club at last? I feel like it. And I don't even feel like, you know, that out of place having a camera or anything like that because of the amount of tourists here already, and I'll let them catch on it. Department of Culture, Media and Sport. Where's the Ministry for Silly Walks, pal? The Ministry for Silly Walks.
Ministry of what?
Silly Walks. Not here. No, not open today. Never mind. Clean Revenue and Customs. You look deadly serious about it as well. Like it's a joke from like well over nearly 50, nearly 60 years ago. I was just trying to do a joke. Oh well, maybe. Well, I found it funny. Maybe he didn't find it funny at all. Don't know why, but that is just how it is. So there is also something I want to do. Is we're coming past King Charles Street, and we're coming past, well, quite a bit of a daunting little part of our tour, because you've got the Red Lion on the other side of the street, but you also have something even more impressive coming your way shortly, and I will showcase it to you exactly what it is just as soon as I make my way past. And well, yeah, I think I better, I don't even know if it's even like, well, yeah, I'm sure you could walk past it, but let me show you guys what we've come across. The Cabinet War Rooms. Now, I've never seen Our Darkest Hour or anything like that, but I certainly do know a lot about it. But at the same time, well, we can't also forget that this, well, coming up as well. And I think it would be fitting if we also like take a look as we sort of like we're trying to make our direction towards like Downing Street and Whitehall, but yeah, I think we should also take a bit of a look. Anyway, our journey continues, and I feel like as we continue along and make our way towards Whitehall, we also have, well, probably one of the most significant parts of the mall in almost the whole of London. I almost want to get like a proper shot, so let's try and get to the other side of the street for now. Well, as soon as I can actually get to see the plaque itself. There it is, Downing Street itself. The end. Where the Prime Minister rents, according to tradition. Yeah, I don't know if it's like even further up the street or anything like that, but I must be honest, it's well, you know, of course, security has to be on high alert all the time. It is how it is, and there is also another really glorious side I want to be able to showcase to you guys. So let's just and the sod-off coach has to literally get in the way. Luxury goes, yeah, luxury, get out of the way. And there she is, the woman of the Second World War. You know, I was almost about to make a joke earlier about, you know, you would see on the news about people complaining about flags being put up on every Tom, Dick and Harry lamppost and all over the country, and what it actually costs the taxpayer to take them down. With that being said, however, well, look at the whole of Whitehall. There are flags literally everywhere. Someone needs to get onto the council immediately and have a word. Although, with that being said, at least one, I was going to say it almost makes sense, you know, for the flags here on Whitehall for one to be here, because literally I was just taking pictures of the King's Guard, and two, they are quite a bit bigger, to be fair. And honestly, I thought Westminster was like impressive, but I must be honest, just every step we take down Whitehall, it is spectacular. And yeah, I'm just in awe of everything in this city. It's I have been here for about just less than a whole than 24 hours, and I must be honest, I could just stay here because I do not even know where I'm even meant to go next. So now that we've sort of ended our trip across Westminster, Whitehall, we are now in Trafalgar Square. That was how I wanted to start this next part. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that because take a look at what they've done to Trafalgar. Literally, it's just sealed off, fencing everywhere, something written in Russian, and yeah, at least the lions look a little bit less cocksure than normal, even on a day like today. So yeah, but for what they're worth, let me just I'm going to do a little bit of a sweep of what you can see right now from standing between Trafalgar Square, Whitehall, Charing Cross. Let's just do a little bit of a spin, shall we? See Trafalgar over there. Then we do a nice little spin around the Ugandan House, the Malaysian tourist board of some sort, Drummond's, Whitehall down there, and as soon as the bus gets out of the way, Charing Cross in the distance, and then it's sort of reduced street round, and then we get back to Trafalgar Square. Again, wish I could say a little bit more than that, but unfortunately the whole of the square is literally cut off. Not sure why, but let's try a different angle. Let's see what else we can get. Also, what some people may not know is that I'm pretty sure like a lot of the embassies are centered in around Trafalgar, because we talked about Uganda, or I don't know if it's specifically the embassy, but you've got what looks like, I think, either Bulgaria or Italy down there. Brazil, I think it's sorry, down there. Then also you've got Ukraine. Well, I don't know exactly what the if like the Canadian embassy is all of the streets, and or whether it's just in reference to the name of the building, because there is one that literally just has Canada written on it with the maple leaves everywhere. Nice building. I can't believe this. BMW Classics. So even BMW just has to ruin everything it touches. They ruin the roads because the people who drive BMWs simply cannot drive. And now they literally block off the whole of Trafalgar Square. And I don't know why, but it's probably not worth it to completely cut off Trafalgar Square like this. At least they haven't cut off, you know, the access to the National Gallery, and we can just we'll keep it rolling. You can even see the London Eye in the distance. Sort of. Bloody BMWs, they ruin everything. Okay, so I don't even quite remember exactly what I needed to pop on the tube for. Piccadilly Circus is literally the next stop, because currently I am on Charing Cross station, and just because there was a bit of information posted before, there was, because Elephant and Castle was like 2 stops before, I thought now would be a good time to impart on a little bit of tourist information about the history of some places. Or not, because, well, I know sod all, but let's pretend that I do, because it might be funnier to subvert expectations or the facts. So, how exactly did the Elephant and Castle get its name? Well, once upon a time, Hannibal and his elephants, they laid siege to the castle, and I was going to mention how King Leo, or Coeur de Lion as the French called him, well, he had a castle situated somewhere near a roundabout. And Hannibal and his elephants, they laid siege to the castle, and that's how it became solely known as the Elephant and Castle. Okay, so you joined me about an hour or so later, and right now we are actually in the middle of Soho, and I have to preface this because I've got a bit of candy in my mouth. A lady from Soho Radio, and we had like a really good conversation, and she gave me rhubarb and custard flavour candy. What a nice lady she was. And there's this, I have to really emphasize this, especially to the boys back home. The markets I've seen so far, because I've paid a visit to one when I was in Hammersmith yesterday, and of course there's a famous market in Shepherd's Bush, which you can pass by when I was on the tube. But the market stores around here, first of all, the smell. The smell is literally nothing like I've ever experienced in my life. It is absolutely breathtaking. The food around here it smells as good as it looks. And when I say as good as it looks, there was a guy who was handing out samples of some sort of exotic chicken dish, and it genuinely brought tears to my eyes. The chicken was the greatest piece of chicken I think I've ever had in my life. And guess what kind of cuisine this was? You are never going to believe it, but one of the stores around here, Palestinian cuisine. And listen, up until now, I've kind of stayed out of the whole discussion about Israel and Palestine, mostly because I had nothing to do with it, and there was no point in getting myself involved in something that didn't involve me. You could understand it, from where I see it, despite, all the rights and wrongs of the case. And believe you me, there are so many rights and wrongs. But I will say this. The food around here is giving me a little bit of a different perspective, because listen, and I'm saying this saying this from the heart. Try Palestinian food. Honestly, it's what I can only describe as like it's the very best of like North African cuisine, and then and it's just honestly I can't even put into words. It is breathtaking. So yeah, if you're ever in Soho and you ever get the chance, Palestinian cuisine is like the way to go, because I genuinely cannot believe what I've just experienced. I really can't. And we are now back. So the only thing I was going to mention is that ever since I got out of Soho, I must be honest, I walked vaguely and in some direction. That's how I'm going to describe how I made the next part of my journey. And insofar as the next part of my journey is concerned, because I chose the route of somewhere and in some direction, I must admit for about 5 minutes I didn't really know exactly where I was going, and to say the least I've somehow ended up in Camden. Not entirely sure how that happened, but it happened all right. So, well, I say Camden, but we're outside Holborn Station, so we're just going to take a short trip, and don't really know exactly where we're going to go next. I had it maybe in mind going to Finsbury Park, but we'll see what happens. You never know, eh? Okay, so now our journey has taken us all the way to Islington, birthplace of George Orwell. Was definitely born in Islington, right? I'm pretty sure. And well, you're never gonna guess what we've just popped outside. Now, to be fair, I've always wanted to see Emirates Stadium, and you know what? We are going to take a little close up whilst technically we're in Finsbury Park, but I'm going to take a look up close. I'm almost anticipating this almost more than I'm anticipating almost Wembley. Not entirely sure if we'll be able to see Wembley, but I definitely know. I mean, just look at again the journey the Gunners have to make just to get here must be excruciating. But also, imagine how lucky you've got to be to have a house just outside. Because literally every single house that I passed by, every single one of them had Arsenal strips on their windows and all the way outside, and I can see it just up close, and it almost looks... Well, I'm going to showcase to you guys right now as we're just coming out of the dock and into There she is now. I mean, the view from that alone must be extraordinary. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's get a little bit close up. See, we'll have a bit of a closer up view about here. Look, I mean, listen, I know I'm going to be automatically biased because St. James for me feels a little bit more special, but there's also no getting away. What an absolute superb piece of architecture that is. That is, quite frankly, staggering. I mean, you guys already know I have a bit of an affinity for like architecture and whatnot, and Emirates is no other. Neither is also, to be fair, the Arsenal Museum, literally just across the way. I do also like the fact that part of the building is like red with grey switched in between. That's actually like really, really cool. And as we continue this journey and as we continue moving onwards, there's also I don't know if that's meant to be Wenger or possibly a statue of Arteta, but I'll tell you what, let's take a look, because there seem to be some fans already having their waving flags and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll be able to find out a little bit more history and see what comes up. Trusting in talent, making our own stars, embracing our community, hiring a guy who plays for Everton. Yeah, I thought that would be the man himself. Oh, he looked so young, didn't he?
Certainly did.
I love the way they've also managed to capture in his tie-in like that as well.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, gives all the explanation I needed as to why I've bothered to come into Emirates instead of going to White Hart Lane.
There you go.
Because people who support Spurs never win anything. I'm sorry, but it's true. If they weren't so shit, they still wouldn't win anything. And I'm from Newcastle, and I know fine well not to blow my own horn.
Good stuff.
Oh, that didn't take long. And probably for the last time as well, I'll manage to get a shot up here. I know my mate at work will love this because he is a gunner through and through. And as I said before, this is all the reference and preferences I needed as to why I bothered coming here instead of going to White Hart Lane. In fact, the explanation, you don't really need an explanation there, it's almost too stupid for words. Anyway, moving on. Alright, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you to the night time here, the night shift as it were. And we begin our nighttime examination here in Knightsbridge. And I kind of had the idea that I was actually going to start the night by going to like Hyde Park and Piccadilly or going back to Leicester Square. But I think actually starting here is quite nice, because honestly, this might be, honestly, the buildings, I know that the street's quite wide, but the buildings around here are like, they are massive. And I think this must be like that small fish, big pond thing I was talking about earlier, because of course we've got Knightsbridge and the Aubrey behind us, but if we turn around, Harvey Nichols is in the background, and somewhere in some direction is Hyde Park. And I think the idea, what I had in mind, was that we were sort of like gonna walk towards Hyde Park, or we could sort of go into the direction of Chelsea, because Chelsea is just down that way, and we'll see exactly where the night takes us. But yeah, actually, you know what, Chelsea, strangely enough, because again, I could go on, okay, so the options are this: I could go north towards Chelsea, I can go east towards the Royal Albert Hall, I could go south and go back to Hyde Park, or I can go west and go straight back to Hammersmith. So we're a little bit spoiled for choice in terms of locations. Chelsea it is. Let's head to Chelsea. let's do that. And honestly, I mean, I'm going to show you guys the rest of the street. So you got the Tower Casino just in the very far distance right there, so it's my focus. Hello. And honestly, I think I've made the right choice getting up at Knightsbridge. I am absolutely in awe. Yeah, what a place, huh? Okay, so you join me about 2 minutes later as I'm walking down Sloane Street, I believe we're on. And this is also one of those occasions where I must admit, outside of, small pond and all that, I must admit, it's about as out of my element as almost being within spitting distance of Buckingham Palace, because every single shop is an Omega, a luxury perfumist that almost looked like came straight out of the Middle Ages. Everything is immaculate, everything is spotless, everything is just unbelievable. It looks like it costs more than I would make in a lifetime. I mean, even some of the shop windows. I know that cake's probably made out of fiberglass, but then again, the wallets look like they cost more than everything else made in here. The mannequins, even the mannequins themselves, almost look like they've been sculpted out of 300-year-old oak trees. And it's actually quite a lot quieter on the roads. There's less the honking of horns that you probably heard everywhere, less of BMWs trying to, rev the engines as though we're going through a tunnel. And Gucci store, everywhere I've seen, everywhere I turn, from Louis Vuittons, Gucci's, Omegas, well, I mean, yeah, I know already that Chelsea was already quite an expensive borough, or the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, and I kind of already knew that it's quite an expensive neighbourhood, but I will also be the next to admit that I don't think I was quite anticipating it to be quite as expensive and as luxurious as this. And I am absolutely staggered by the whole thing. It is absolutely staggering. I can't stop going on about it. And then of course you get to we just came past what looked called a pub called the Gloucester. I think it looks like it's been shut for years, actually. You just sort of see it in the background. But yeah, as we go on, and probably, I don't even know where we're even planning to head up. I don't know if we're going to come towards Stamford Bridge, or where exactly we're going to take us, or maybe I'll just in 10 minutes I'll probably do a 180 and go all the way back to Kensington and make my way to Hyde Park or the Royal Albert and stuff like that. We'll just wait and see. Hello. 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 And well, at least, to be honest, at least that kind of calmed my rumours about, I thought I would stand out a little bit, but I mean, I do feel like I stand out, but at the same time, it's the reason why I've also got the backpack, because the coat it wasn't going to get cold enough. It's more for the sake of the extra pockets, more than anything, having the big coat on. And yeah, I must admit, I can't get out of my head. Just let me get a glimpse of the architecture around here. The locations around there, probably thatched houses, Giorgio Armani, Prada, Roxanda, Sloane Street. Kensington, huge Huracan. It's a nice colour.
Yeah, good to me.
Thank you. I mean, I've seen plenty of Lambos and stuff in my time, don't get me wrong, but that almost looked like it just came straight out the factory. Remind me where they make... I mean, I know Italy, but where in Italy do they make Lambos? To be honest, they probably were made here. They're probably expensive enough. So yeah, let's as we were just trying to see, and again, even the architecture, even when they tried to make repairs to buildings as big as that, they're probably just going to make them as beautiful as ever. And Versace does suddenly, I mean, to be honest, they can afford them, because if anything, the buildings around here are getting, if anything, even bigger again. That one's even, it looks like it's the equivalent of like they've got a building and they put a hat on top of it. That's what that looks like. So yeah, let's we continue on, and if anything, we might actually be heading in towards Hyde Park. Cadogan Place, or opening up to some park at any rate. And I think we're sort of, is that meant to be like the Norwegian, no, the Danish embassy, I think. It's kind of hard to know sometimes with the amount of flags that are just like flying around. And yeah, just go on. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, let's take a look. Actually, the oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. It's the Royal Danish Embassy. Probably. Well, yeah, as well, because technically Denmark does have a king and queen. And yeah, let's we carry on. That's quite out there, Pond Street. Oh yeah, we're heading towards Battersea. I almost forgot about that too. Anyway, let's just keep this rolling for now. Well, by the time we get there. Although the park around here actually also looks quite nice. It's almost like Central Park, except much smaller, but probably just as well kept. And of course, Iceland, they probably all share the same embassy around here, or something of that description. I mean, why not get a, if you're going to get a place anywhere, why not get it around Chelsea? You know what I mean? See that building behind me, guys? Right there? I'm out. Okay, so we sort of come to the end of like Sloane Street, and to be honest, I'm once again, as before, completely taken aback by just where we are, because from Tiffany's and Co on the corner to Peter Jones's tower, or something like that as you call it, and even as we're, because listen, I have absolutely no idea how on earth I'm meant to go. Evening. I absolutely have no idea how on earth I'm even at this point meant to get to Stamford Bridge. And if I'm honest, there's a part about me that almost doesn't really care at this point either, because everywhere you turn in Chelsea, it's like it gets more expensive just to turn your head. It is like nothing I've ever witnessed in my entire life, and this place is gorgeous. It really is. So you join me about 10 or so minutes later, and Stamford Bridge still doesn't really seem in sight. And as we just got past Charles III Place, and once again, now we're sort of moved away from Sloane Square and past the Holy Parish Church. One thing I have also noticed, as we literally came all the way down from Knightsbridge, is that there's also been a spectacular uptick in a very particular kind of shop that I've noticed. And there's probably been more of this kind of shop than I've seen anywhere before in my lives. And I know immediately what you're going to guess, especially if you live down Chelsea, but I'll just say it for the record, because for those who don't know, well, I'll just spit it out. Ice cream shops. Although these places are never called ice cream shops, they always use some sort of, I'm pretty sure all of them are Italian as well, because they always have gelato, and they use some Italian paraphrasing here and there. And just like everything else I've noticed around here, it is literally everywhere you turn is an absolute sight to behold. It's probably one of the most beautiful boroughs or places I think I've ever been to in my life. It's the sort of thing that would put Darras Hall Estate to shame, because quite frankly, hello. Because if Darras Hall Estate is where people go to live to get away from the city, honestly, put Knightsbridge in the middle of Darras Hall Estate in Ponteland, and you're literally onto something right here. And certainly seems like the first real inexpensive place, the Chelsea Potter, and probably named after this fella. But yeah, we keep rolling, and honestly, what an absolute! It's the richness of the color and the lighting. It's hello. It's honestly, it's interior designers and graphic designers must have had at least 15 years experience before getting their big gig. It's sort of like working or just working in this sort of place, because everything seems to fit. Even the Five Guys that we've just sort of passed is like none other. Everything is spotless. There's no litter brigade of like cigarette ends around. Everything is just perfect. And I can't tell if it's just because it's such a rich and luxurious I can't tell if it's just on the strength of the borough, or what people must pay to keep with good ends round here in this sort of neighbourhood. But honestly, it just gets better and better and better, and hopefully we can still get to Stamford Bridge just before the sun fades, because when they advertised Chelsea, I thought they would advertise, yeah, you know, it would be like about a 15-minute walk. You won't be able to miss Stamford Bridge to save your life. But then it suddenly occurred to me that, yeah, Stamford Bridge is like quite close to the Thames as well. So that's a bit of a spanner in the works, I must admit, because how far is it from the Thames when you go from Knightsbridge? Must be a while away at any rate. Still, with that being said, we'll get there eventually. I mean, you never know. Stamford Bridge, even in the glow of the early evening, twilight, if you will, might be even better again. But let's wait and see, shall we? Well, it has taken a little bit of extra walking that I realised, because I'm pretty sure I've literally covered the whole of the Chelsea Borough just to get here. But yeah, we are ever closer towards Stamford Bridge. So good. And well, yes, here we are anyway. There it is. Stamford Bridge just stands in the distance right there. And they still have world champions displayed, as though that really impresses anybody, to be fair. Yes, Chelsea Football Club, the club that will go down in my estimation, the team that can literally play poorly all season and still win anyway. And to be fair, maybe the only real logical reason as to why I've walked literally all the way across Chelsea just to get here is that me Omar's a massive fan of Made in Chelsea, and I think she would appreciate something out of this. I don't know. I mean, the walk across Knightsbridge was pretty fun, and across Sloane Square. Let's get this back on track, because at one point I thought I may have gone the wrong way and I was heading all the way towards Battersea, but no. And yeah, my old man was right. It's a nasty looking ground at the very least. I mean, I'll give you guys another look at the background. Satisfied, and I think we're done. Right, back to, at least there's an underground coming up, so back to getting out of Chelsea and getting back to the Piccadilly line and getting towards Piccadilly and Leicester Square. So let's go. So do you want to guess where we are now, guys? As soon as the thing can get into focus. There we go. And yeah, you are correct, because I have no idea either. And honestly, I think like a show was supposed to be, oh yeah, that's right, I'm in the middle of Piccadilly. That probably is also the reason why. Because I got off the station at like Regent Street, just down there, and well. I can't see sod all because it's so dark, but that's more like it. And honestly, once again, for the first time, also since I've been here, I really do feel as if I really am now in London. And quite unlike sort of those times when I was sitting just sort of minding my own business and then some passerby would throw water on me down Big Market. No, this is quite a ways away from being stuck in Big Market, because the space around here is extraordinary. It's quite a bit of a change up anyway from being from being down in Knightsbridge and Chelsea. But to be honest, I also do kind of like a little bit of the madness as well. And where on earth are you even meant to start? Let's keep it rolling. Let's take a little look around, see.
Oh man!
Like this. Hello. Here. Want to get in, brother?
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. What's the best thing about London, brothers?
Girls! And London, everything is good.
Everything's good.
People are very good here.
Nice time.
They are polite man.
Big,
Yes,
big thumbs up.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Enjoy your night.
Yeah.
Enjoy your night. See, what a great start that is. And to be fair, I couldn't agree more. We've been here for 2 days, and I can't think for like one moment where it's been, you know how sometimes, you know, expectation doesn't quite meet up and stuff like that. Well, they couldn't be wrong, because honestly, I have just about been like amazed and like staggered by everything I see. From, it could be from down there, and even from the liveliest parts of the city, it's just glorious to behold. I mean, we've got an entire chocolate makers around here, the tricycle of love. Boy, they've really decked those things out, haven't they? And there's even more over there. But honestly, this just, I have no words. This is just, it's glorious to behold. And trying to work out, like, because I know if we head down there, we'll head towards like Piccadilly. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's well, I think it's more like Leicester Square we head down. So let's go take a look. Let's see what we can see. You see, I would have expected even at this stage that I would have run out of singing the praise about London. But to be honest, I can't. I'm almost enabled, if you will, to stop talking positively about London. I mean, I know fine well I'll stop talking about it up until the moment when disaster strikes, and disaster, like in any other city, can sometimes be right around the corner. But to be honest, since you know, we did come down here earlier in the day, but in the night time, however, it's quite different. I mean, the distance up ahead is extraordinary. It's like every frame I've taken, it's like picture to speed fast words. Hello. And I'm just gonna sort of like keep quiet and just sort of like take it all in, because
Okay, sí.
Das ist fine. Look at it, it's just like
nice. And I'll keep the camera on me for now. It's all like head through the slightly more congested parts of the making our way through Leicester. Yeah, and of course, Crystal Maid live experience just across the street. Nice. Is it any good? I never thought to check, because they were advertising the Gladiators live experience. Yes, the Gladiators live experience back in where it all started in Birmingham. if I ever do Teesside, I hope like maybe Birmingham might be a bit far for that sort of thing, but it's not too far enough from what we've experienced so far, because the space around here is extraordinary, and I can't tell if it's just everything is bright in the middle of the night or it's just always this busy. But I again can't. It's again that the smile has like not left my face all day, and we continue on. So let's keep it rolling. Of course, we get evening, ladies. Of course, Chinatown also is just down there, and again, I don't know, and that's the way I'm going to phrase it. I do not know where to go next. Hello, you want to get in, brothers? Hello. What's the best part about London?
The food.
Food,
Yeah.
food top
And
notch.
people like you vlogging.
Oh, thanks, brother. People like you get in it. That makes it all worthwhile too.
100%. 100%.
Nice.
Have a nice evening.
Oh, cheers for that. Honestly, again, people tell me to, watch out and stuff like that, but to be honest, why? What is there to worry about? Everyone I've met has been absolute cush, mustard, down, nice, down, and just it's just a part about what goes on, and seeing the city for how it is, and honestly, it's going to be just as bad, even in the middle of the night. But let's see where we go next. I'm imagining, because there was like quite a bit of traffic when we came up through Piccadilly station. I think that might have to do like maybe a show had just finished, or a series of show being in the middle of Piccadilly. But we keep going and moving on. Okay, so you join me about 5 minutes later, and we're sort of like back in around like Chinatown on Shaftesbury Avenue. And as we continue on our quest to find out what the hell is going on and who on earth is responsible, I also have to ask the question that it kind of erased in my mind a little bit earlier today, that only for about the second time today I'm heading vaguely and in some direction. And usually when people head vaguely and in some direction, you sort of have no idea where you are and you have no idea where you're going. But we are passing Gentings, and this is like about the second time today I've had to pass. And okay, so from what I understand, we've just come onto Greek Street, so like Camden is like not too far away, and maybe I should possibly head back to Piccadilly. Maybe there's just something about it I haven't quite seen yet, and boy howdy, cyclists not off making noise. So yeah, I'll tell you what, let's do that. Let's head back to Piccadilly and we'll just see what goes on. And aside from all that, I can't really complain, because guess what? It's part of the excitement. It's just part of the thrill of what goes on. I mean, I don't know whether or not it's a good idea to possibly head down maybe Chinatown, but no, I think I'll be better off staying sort of on Shaftesbury Avenue for now. And at least the view up ahead is stunning for words. Hello. So let's see, get a view of the street once again. And cue, there we go. Okay, report back in a few minutes' time. Mind you, at least one benefit of coming back to Piccadilly even at this angle is that at least I get to see the actual statue up top. So let's get a nice zoom in on that. Yeah, maybe it's a sign where Lord Cupid is meant to be shooting his arrow, although it's heading down Regent Street. And yeah, I'm wondering exactly what sort of would be our next port of call, because Regent Street looks quite fun. We've already sort of like tried to make our way towards like what I'm going to sort of suggest was more like Broadway. And where on earth do we go next? Because I sort of feel like we've covered like the major parts of the night, and what exactly can we realistically do next? Hyde Park? I honestly have no idea, but what I do know is that this has already been a wild night so far, and I'm sure we'll find out what happens next, because we are far from done with the night. Maybe if we did have sort of had a look-see down Regent Street towards St. James's, maybe we can see what sort of happens next down there, because it certainly does look quite ideal. So let's do that actually. Let's go down Regent Street. Well, here we are. We're sort of now just making our way down Regent Street, and I suppose maybe the thing to do is just sort of like keep stum and just see exactly what we've got to offer as well. So I know this sort of like heads in the direction of like Trafalgar, but let's just take a look see. Let's see what happens. Certainly is very nice evening, and I put my coat on at last because it sort of, by about 11:15, it did sort of get like cool enough that I feel like I should have it on, and it feels a lot easier on my back, because I've had my coat in my bag since we're about halfway to Stamford Bridge. So let's keep it rolling, shall we? Off we go.
Trying to keep you around.
Hey, go die somewhere. Go and hang yourself. What do you keep telling me to do?
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, not too sure we can get the lighting on that, but let's try it on the other end.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we just come back uphill from going down Regent Street. Quite a little fun side quest, to say the least. And listen, so far in our conquest of going on this night expedition, after literally having to walk all the way across Chelsea, and I will possibly be the first to admit, I feel like we're almost not so much flagging, but I feel like I just need to like have a sit down and rest my legs for about another 10 minutes, because boy howdy, have I not got my steps in today. It estimated that I burned like nearly 1,200 calories just today, just in walking, since at about like 6 o'clock. Though I'm sure it didn't exactly account for the fact that from 8:30 to about 10:15 I walked all the way across Chelsea, and yet here we are again, and right in amongst so many tourists and all these theatres and all these fantastic productions. I'm almost, what would be like where to go next, and or rather, would it not be like a better idea to sort of like call it for now? Actually, to be honest, if we are here, I think actually, you know what, for what they're worth, I actually do want to give my opinions about London, just in my experience I've had here. So, when one comes to think of it, it would be strange to say that in any city on earth, or any city anywhere for that matter, you would be willing to find any such place that would be accustomed to its populace, even and especially London, because outside of London's rich history and the sheer size and scale, and for the fact that it is the capital city of the very country I live in, it would be strange to say that, well, even for somebody who comes from the other side of the country, up in Newcastle, which Newcastle isn't exactly a small place either, but the difference between Newcastle and London, it's only really in a matter of size the more you think about it, because I would say Newcastle is about maybe 1/25 the size of London, because whilst we do have some sort of like light railway system, the light railway system in Newcastle is, well, it feels just as long, and you sort of cover fewer distance, although that might have to do something with the fact that, you know, it stretches across Sunderland and sort of like stops by the time you get into Durham as well. So there's quite a few places to go here and there. Although, to be fair, covering two major cities, I suppose, isn't exactly bad news either. But when it also comes to just the populace of its people spread across such a huge area, it would again be easier to say that actually there's quite a lot of really cool ideas as to why living just on the outskirts of the city is probably far better for its people, because in the first place, St. James's Park is almost slap bang in the middle of the city, surrounded by so many bars, so many places to go on a nights out, like casinos and restaurants and stuff like that. There may be a little bit less choice compared to London, but I suppose the advantage is that if you know what you want, then guess what, you will go to it immediately. I'm not trying to say competition is any less fiercer, but to be fair, for the amount of you would have to flog out and what you would actually have to pay through the nose to even get a spot on Piccadilly, or even anywhere like, let's say, the Old Kent Road or the Elephant and Castle, you better stand out, because guess what? Okay to average fails and dies away. Only great things will stand the test of time. So to survive, you have got to be good round here. There's no two ways about it. If you don't, and if your business doesn't stand up and it's not pucker, you're dead in the water immediately. And again, Newcastle, it's no different whatsoever, whether it's a restaurant chain or a shop. If you're not good, you will be going down. And even as we speak, because I did have to do a little bit of shopping before I came down here, Northumberland Street, all the way back up north, it's almost 3 years of renovation to the street have finally been completed at last. And insofar as I can work out, the only thing they've actually managed to change is put up a few lampposts and some sort of huge iron, girders that they sort of like just stick into the ground. I'm sure at the night time Northumberland Street must look quite a bit ways different, but I think there is something to be said that when you're like surrounded by so much light, it can be a little bit strenuous on the eyes, especially when you sort of like want to get to sleep at night. But then again, not everybody has the energy or the capacity to stay out at all hours at night. But again, insofar as my experiences goes, whilst I've been down here, and this may be the other thing I've kind of noticed as well during my journey down south, is that everybody I've spoke to and everybody I've like held conversations with, everybody has been very, very welcoming, very, very pleasant, and everybody has just been, it's been, I don't really feel like a tourist. I feel like I could have literally lived here all my life and blended so perfectly into the background. I mean, unlike being up in Newcastle, actually just doing YouTube videos and actually just sitting out in the street, I don't feel like I stand out quite as much. But that's only because, again, it's such a huge tourist hotspot, being slap bang in the middle of Piccadilly, as it would have been if I was on, Oxford Street or outside Buckingham Palace. Because I'm sure even at 11:15 at night, Buckingham Palace or even down Westminster must be busier than ever before. And sure, yes, Newcastle, tourists, it's not that I don't describe it as like a tourist sort of city, but I would say it's actually, it's about, the people themselves are kind of tourists in a small way, because you meet new people and so many people come into the city every other day, so everybody is kind of its own landmark in some small way. And it's not exactly as if there aren't just as many things to do when you're like out and about. But what I will say is that, well, it was something that my parents also told me before I came down here. There's just so much, and like so much to fit into a short amount of time. How on earth do you start? And that has been a little bit of an interesting conundrum I had to find myself in, because Newcastle sort of has the same sort of deal. There is so much you could see and so much to do, and well, for my money, for the sake of, I know I don't work for the tourist board or anything like that, but one of the things I would absolutely have to recommend coming up north is to spend a day in the country. Because I would say the greenery and the scenery, it's a lot more lush and a lot more lush and a lot more, it's a very different sort of green. I would dare almost say Viridian up north compared to down here. Because even when I was travelling along the train and going past York and Grantham, quite a lot of the farmland seemed almost saturated in a way that almost didn't seem quite normal. It seemed very almost like it didn't quite exist. Hello. But with that being said, it was only really when I got past Milton Keynes and on my way towards Stevenage, just when the greenery kind of shifted and then it kind of stopped being in place altogether. Though with that being said, there are parts of London where, even when I was passing through Chelsea, the Sloane Square Park, for example, did seem like a perfect, like a beautiful little getaway. And I'm sure if I was to even go into Sloane Square Park during the day, it almost would have felt like stepping into a different part of the country altogether. But speaking of different part of the country, I kind of have to bring it back to my experience around Knightsbridge and Chelsea again. So it would be easy for me to say that, based on what I saw before, is that I don't think I've quite ever really been into a neighbourhood that was so lush and so luxurious and so rich as being around Chelsea, because it's the sort of thing I would have expected to, if I was to go down, let's say, Oxford Street, or go down the Rue de la Paix or the Champs-Élysées. Because honestly, there was just everywhere, it screamed of wealth, from how clean the streets were, how clean the buildings were, that the restaurants, for example, like even the absolute best of them, had displays of these beautiful, like, marbled ornaments, like marbled leaves, and the tabletops were these beautiful kaleidoscopes of colors, and it was almost the sort of thing you literally cannot like describe unless you've actually seen it with your own eyes, because the sights are just, again, I'm almost like bowled over. It was kind of like the chicken I had earlier today. It's enough, literally. And listen, I do like my designs and stuff like that. You cannot put these sorts of things into words. There are things that are orchestrated by sights and sounds and smells. The sorts of things that can't really be contained in writing or in video format. You have got to see these things for yourself, because once you see them, you literally will never forget them. Which is also kind of like a strange thing as to why my mom watches, Made in Chelsea, when really she should be watching a show about just Chelsea, and to see exactly what it is, why people are so wealthy, and why it is such a beautiful little spot down there. Because again, once you see it, you're never going to look away ever again. And it's not exactly as if Newcastle is short of luxurious and rich spots as well. But there's also a part of me that just wants to say I would rather live down in Knightsbridge or in Chelsea than possibly in Davis Hall Estate. And I suppose the reason for that is because whilst, Davis Hall Estate has the sort of things that I straight up love, from the open space, the greenery, and you're almost like at one with nature, despite the fact that you're almost in the top 10% of affluent people in the country. One thing about Chelsea, hello. Yeah, as well, you got to keep a watch out and stuff like that. I know some people may be more curious about the camera, but they can sort of see that it's on me anyway, so it's not really going to cause that much of an issue. And in any case, it's again that it's a little bit of that curiosity does go through round such people round Newcastle as well. But oh well, it is how it is. But as I was saying, it kind of makes me not really stand out that much. But I do get the appeal, and I also do thoroughly understand that actually. I just don't think I don't think I look too strange, as a tourist, and that might be just the biggest difference of them all. Is that I'm far more of a tourist really here than a citizen of my own country. I feel like just some sort of bizarre, strange wanderer. Hello. Then I do just a member of. If that makes sense. And one of the things that kind of eliminates this bizarre conundrum is the fact that, to go back to the analogy about tourism again, is that not once, when I've ever had conversations with people about certain things, or what's a great place to eat here in Hammersmith, or what's a great place to what's just the things you've got to see when you're down Whitehall. I think the reason for that is because nobody ever quizzed me about my accent, that might be just. I generally do think it's got something to do with the accent, because despite the fact that I've lived up in Newcastle all my life, I will still get people who will ask periodically from time to time, "You don't sound like you're from here at all," and I don't know if that's just down to just how I was brought up, or how my language, like, you know, or my personality afflicted and contrasted with the environment. But I will just say, it just seemed so natural and just seemed just sort of how it was. I never really thought of it any other different. It's the same way I didn't really quiz people about their accents or anything like that. Not because it's an impersonal thing to do, it's just because sometimes I don't really think it's really that important. And I'm glad that whilst we're sort of bringing this to an end, even if I was to stay in London, like maybe for a whole week, I don't really feel like I would have been quizzed about my accent or what I thought about where I came from any further. Even when I was chatting to the gunners outside Emirates, if I didn't bring up the fact that I was from Newcastle, I don't think that lot would have mentioned it. Still, it is how it is, and you can't really complain about either way. Hello. And, well, yeah, I think that is just as they say that. And I think the only thing I'm going to do right now is possibly get maybe a very small bite to eat and then make the short trip back to Hammersmith. Hello. Joey, the camera's on me, brother. You got nothing to worry. I think the only thing to do is to just do all that and make the short trip back to Hammersmith and then get some shut-eye, because I think it's getting on right now, and I feel like it's time for a nice rest, get up early, have breakfast, and then get to King's Cross and head back to Newcastle. So I think, all things being fair, I think my time in London is well and truly complete. And there is just one other thing I do want to say before we do leave, is that I think I've learned more about myself, and I think I've learned more about just where my life is right now in these last 2 days being here in London. Then again, I've had more joy and more satisfaction in the last 2 days being in the city than I have in the last 10 years since I left school. And I think, based on the aforementioned criteria, I know exactly what I have to do by the time I get back. Hello. And if you were like watching like these like night videos, you're thinking there was going to be some sort of madness happening in London, in Piccadilly or around Leicester Square. Well, listen, madness will happen, and guess what? Some people will describe that as like content, so to speak, but that's not really what this is all about. This is all about me coming to terms with where I am in my life and making myself quite public. I am, as they say, putting myself out there. Hello. And one of the benefits of putting myself out there is the fact that, guess what? There's no point in putting myself out there from the confines of my room. Some point or some other, I have to, well, as they say, touch grass. I have to go outside. I have to be a part of the world that I am. And being a part of the world that I am means having to do things a little unexpected, like spending 2 whole days in the capital city of London. And sometimes that also means, never mind just doing touristy things like going to Westminster, Camden, Finsbury Park, but it also means sitting just on the steps in the centre of Piccadilly and just straighting to tell everybody, and just as I said yesterday, the wall is gone. The wall no longer exists. The wall has been destroyed. Not by perspiration, not by determination, not by courage, not by strength, not by hatred, spite, doubt, anger, apathy, empathy, generosity, curiosity, creativity. It hasn't been destroyed by any of those things. It's been destroyed by love. Love has been the thing that has conquered my struggle on the wall. And even though everything is now all said and done, and now we are back in the real world, and this is, I think, almost the mission statement I said right at the beginning of when I did these sorts of videos, and it's the fact that, you know what, it's trying to find the best out of this world. And you know what, the reality of life is that, guess what, there are so many great things that happen in the real world, and while some people do get hooked on bad ideas to reaffirm themselves that guess what, they are correct in their assumptions and decisions, there's just enough to be said about people who actually see the best parts of the world, that they actually make them want to go and experience the best parts of the world. Those sorts of things I think stand out even more because it's also about trying to bring positivity into the world. And I would much rather, because listen, there are very successful people who do the exact opposite and make a great thing out of it, but I also can make just as much of a great thing by actually bringing a more positive aspect into the outside world. How? And I know, and you know what? I know deep down I could do it because I certainly have it within me. Because the wall is gone, and we are now finally, our feet are back on solid earth. We are now in amongst the rest of the crowd, and we are just like everyone else again. Hosanna, we are happy again, as we are now firmly on solid ground and back into the world of man. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all the aforementions and everything I need to make clear as to explain my trip to London. Thank you for watching, and I'll see all of you guys again next time, back in the black and white army.